Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here with another copywriting tutorial. Today we're gonna see the psychology behind fonts. Why is this relevant to you? Because if you do any copywriting, if you write anything for your online business, you're actually using different fonts. Even though you always choose Arial and you're always using the same fonts, if you change it, if you make it accordingly to the rules that I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna get best results with the same amount of work. Wouldn't that be awesome, right? You're doing pretty much the same, you're doing all the techniques that I've showed you in the past, and you're having more results with the same effort. So let's go right into it. This thing, I wrote it in The Psychology of Fonts by Nick Kolenda. So if you want to look it out, you can get it. It's a free PDF, but basically I'm gonna review it and I'm gonna tell you my standpoint and how can you apply it right now. So the first thing about fonts is that it's obviously a whole science behind it that we don't even notice, right? As human beings, we process things really quick and there's a lot of things that happen in the back that we don't even realize. So the first step is people see the font, right? You see it and immediately you give some perceptual associations, right? And you know that the font, let's say, is thin, it's loose, it's small, or it's tall, right? It's all those qualities that you know that are physical, right? And you're applying some qualities that you have seen in other places, in other things, to that font, right? So you're applying some qualities you see somewhere else. So how could you say that a font is tall, right? You say like a person is tall, a building is tall, something is tall, but a font, it's not tall, right? It's not taller than you or than something. So it's those qualities that you see right away. And there's a direct association with those things and, let's say, people. So if you're talking about something about beauty and women and small and skinny, loose, you're making a beauty product, right? You need to have a font that it's tall and thin and it's loose, right? Because you need those qualities into the things that you want to sell. So you need to, yes, it does matter. At the beginning I was thinking like, does this actually matter? But it does make sense. Even though you don't realize it, people have this congruency, like what is that they expect, because as human beings we have seen fonts everywhere. Like since we learn how to read, we see fonts and we have a huge database of which fonts work with what. It's not that maybe we can access that database, but it works in our decision processes, right? When we're making a decision, when we're reading something, we're having an experience, we make all these connections and see if it fits. If it fits, then we have a good association, right? We like it. We feel like it's just right? If you see some things and you see the fonts and you read it and it's just effortlessly, you're like, okay, this font is right. You probably don't think about it, but in that way, the message gets through you way easier. So this is really important, guys, because it's all the factors, right? Like the font is the vehicle for the copy to get to people's head, right? And if you can tweak it and make that extra 10%, you're gonna get more results, right? It's not that fonts are everything, but it's the vehicle. So imagine you're doing copywriting and it's just awesome. You could be a lot better if you use the right fonts, right? So because at the end, copywriting is pretty visual. So if you write any content, maybe in Instagram, and you do carousel for Photoshop, you're gonna have to master those fonts. So also, if you see fonts that are slant forward and you're talking about something that it's quick, it does make sense, right? So use those fonts that go slant forward when you're talking about something that is fast, or maybe a race or something that it's quick, so you get in this feeling. I always imagine people reading like you're in a movie, right? But when you're talking with words, you don't have images, right? So you can give like an extra tweak to get people into the story, into the context with those different fonts, right? That's why we use bolded, also round, light, the weight. And also, if you're talking about something that's strong, that it's rigid, that it's small, you could use small fonts that are bolded, so you get that feeling of strong, right? If you're maybe talking a product about weightlifting, you could also use really strong fonts that are small, that are bold, that have more weight, right? And then after you do this, you have also at the same time the direct association you have from past experiences. So if you have seen that font in, let's say, different contexts, like wars, like other brands, beauty brands, books, maybe you read this font when you were little in your textbooks of maybe science, social studies, something like that. You're gonna associate it with all those things that you have seen and all those contexts, right? So you see it, you see the qualities, and then you associate it at the same time with what you have seen in the past, right? After that, you start making all the connections that you have in your brain with other things that are similar. So let's say that you see from a brand that it's a beauty brand, like from a brand of beauty products. So you immediately make all the associations about thin font, loose font, every quality, tall font, and then you make, okay, beauty, woman, pleasure. You see all these things that are related at the same time in your brain. So after that, you get the collective association, which is that beauty equals pleasure. And you see, like, okay, all these things that happen at once, you see the font, and 1 millisecond you do all these associations, and then it brings back to one thing, which is the collective association of everything that you just saw. The most important thing here, guys, then is context. Why? Because depending on the context, the things that you're writing and you're talking about, it's gonna relate or not to the font and to the collective association that you already have with that font. So if it makes sense to your collective association, it's gonna strengthen your connection that you have from the past. If it doesn't make sense, it's gonna weaken that connection. So let's say that you have a connection about, like, these types of font relate to beauty, right? Beauty products. If it doesn't make sense, you're gonna weaken that connection. If it does make sense, you're gonna say, like, okay, I know this works, and you have one more set of data for your database, right? It's gonna be a stronger connection for you in the future. So the more you see these fonts in this different context, the stronger it's gonna be in the future. And if it's just different, you're gonna add a new connection. So a lot of brands use these fonts that are really like decorative, that are really, really different, so they make their brand unique. So there's a lot of brands that use a unique font, so you recognize only them with that font, right? So you make a new connection. After that, if the context is right, you're gonna have a positive association. And if the context is wrong, you're gonna have a negative association, right? So you're gonna see that when you write fonts that make sense and that have the right context, is gonna be more fluent. And who doesn't want that, right? As copywriters, as content creators, we want people to be fluent, to get your message, your information as fluently as possible. And fonts are really important, that your context relates to everything, every association you could make with that font into the context. So people read it quicker, easier, they're gonna get your information, they're gonna wanna follow you, wanna buy to you, because it's easy, right? And easy, it's way better. When it gets complex, people just scroll down and go somewhere else where people can get it easy for them. If you see it like this in life, in everything, the easier it is, the more you pay, right? You see that those cars that are better, that are easier to drive, they're more expensive, right? So as easier as it gets, the better, in a sense, right? So you need to make it really, really easy. Now, to wrap up the video, I'm gonna show you some of the relations that you can make. So let's say that you have a light font, okay? We're gonna erase the beautiful diagram. Okay, in this studies that Nick Holenda wrote, if you see like light fonts, those are related more to beauty and femininity. It's not being any. Okay, a lot of people relate light fonts to beauty and femininity. If you use bold letters, it's more of a power and masculinity, right? This is just how we see it as a collective. So if you are talking about something that it's more powerful and you need it to be more strong, you're gonna have to use bold fonts. If you see bulky fonts, it's also related to men. Rounded fonts are more related into comfort, into softness, into commodity, right? Equals beauty and sweet, things that are friendly, right? Because also as human beings, we love curves, right? We love curves. It just makes us more comfortable. For the other side, if you see fonts that are too steep, that have really sharp angles, it's gonna scare you out. It's like something as human beings, because in nature, when we saw something that was steep, have like a really, really steep angle, you got afraid, right? Because it was dangerous. If you see strong, straight fonts, it's also a sign of stability. Lowercase, it's more of a compassion and innovation, lowercase, and uppercases is more power and strength. But they have also found that if you use both, it makes the best contrast, so people read it more. No doubt we see always starting with an uppercase and then lowercase because of the contrast. It makes it more easy to read, right? If you see it really separate, people being more of not a collective, right? If you see fonts that are really connected together, it's more of a group, right? Something that it's really close together. But if you see it more separate, it's something more serious, more formal, right? Also, a really cool thing is difference between serif and sans serif is that serifs are basically these things that you see here, like this, like this, in letters, this thing that makes it more formal, more elegant. So if you're looking to make something that is more elegant, you should use serifs. And also, to finish up, wrap it up, if you use really short fonts, it's something that is heavy, that it's stable. And if you use tall fonts, it's more of a lightness and luxury. You feel it? Can you feel it? If you see fonts that are just bigger and they're more thinner, it's something that is more luxurious, right? So I hope this helps you out. I hope you can dig deeper into these topics, because I truly think it's really crucial if you write anything for your online business and you want to take it to the next level. So make sure you check it out, check all this information out. Now at least you know something about it. You can take the next level, and If you want to see more of these free trainings in the future, subscribe down below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.